been steering the good ship center for 21 and a half months now. How are you feeling this morning?
Feeling great. Feeling great. Things at Center are doing very well. Glad to be pulling out of this pandemic stuff.
Now, you know, every night Lester Holt has 8.5 million viewers watching him, and in the evenings, Colbert and even Goodfellow have like 2 million.
Okay.
What can you estimate the audience, the number you've attracted with these coffees? This is like the fifth or sixth. Give me a guess.
Oh, someplace between those numbers you gave earlier. Must be in the 10 million range, I would guess.
Yeah. It's double digit, I know, but we won't say how many zeros. In 1667, when John Milton published Paradise Lost, he hoped that he would have a fit audience, though few. And our few loyal observers of this coffee with Milton, I think we ought to reward them when they come to campus. They ought to have in 3 dimensions, really coffee with Milton, maybe at the new Einstein, what's it called, bagel place in the library?
Einstein Bagel, sure, in the library. That'd be a great idea.
Then you could take them, the word on the street is on the street, on College Street, there's going to be a unbelievable sort of walk-through sculpture thing or something. Can you talk about that, maybe after homecoming?
Look, it might sound unbelievable to you, but here at Center, we make the unbelievable real. So the opportunity to celebrate the long legacy here of our glass program under the leadership of Stephen Powell, we're going to celebrate that through a beautiful garden area and outdoor classroom. And so we are looking forward to that, led by our own Brooke White, class of 91, a student of Stephen Powell. I believe he tells the story of taking a glass blowing class in his sophomore year and having a rather life-changing experience, even though he didn't expect to, have that as a field of choice. Now in Louisville with his own great artist endeavors there, and the flame run that he has created as part of a business enterprise and artistic venture. So we're so proud of Brooke and the opportunity to, under his leadership, actually raise $400,000 in the past few months. And we're still open to more for that beautiful garden area. Megan might pop a couple of slides. It's going to be located right next to the Grant Hall and Wisiger side of the Norton Center. So we're standing essentially looking between the Norton Center and Bowles Natatorium that will, of course, be in its final year coming up before it is replaced by the new natatorium. But in that space right there, here's some renderings of what that space is going to look like opening in homecoming.
Unbelievable.
Using the beautiful design of Powell's artistic, kind of probably his most famous artistic design, glass even from his own shop, as well as contributions from others who studied with him and worked in the program. Some seating area there as you approach from College Street. And then as you look at the full garden, you'll see the outdoor classroom there. So it's not a well-used space right now. And one of the things we're doing on campus is looking at great spaces that we can kind of revitalize and make into really interesting places for alumni when you come back, for recruiting future students at the college, and certainly for our students right now who, we want this campus to be not just beautiful, but really useful to their work here in the academic program and in all the co-curriculars. So this is a great garden, great outdoor classroom, And
It's
again, thanks to a wonderful alum and a whole set of alumni and friends of the college, including some foundations and corporations that Steve Powell worked with, like Corning, have made some great donations to this.
Steve
So
is
we're
one
excited
of
about it.
dozens, if not hundreds of students who parents send them here to take over the company or be a physician or a hotshot lawyer. And they happen to take an art class or a Powell class, and their parents say, oh my God. And there are any number who have had fine careers and are happy and successful in less. Now, what about this? I understand we're recruiting a cross-country skiing team that will take place on the new baseball field. What's that about?
Yeah, every time we have a big event at Center College, we try to usher it in with snow. And so as the beginning of the initiation, the initiative for wellness and athletic excellence here, we were actually able to open up a grand new baseball stadium, a field and so forth. And so we brought in about 8 inches of snow the night before and then asked our baseball players to get their exercise before the doubleheader that Sunday, March 13th, by scraping the field off. So they did win the opening game. We're proud of our team, but also just proud of the facilities team, Brian Huxley, Scott Messer, and others who are leading our on the ground here. Allie Lilly, who some of you will remember from an earlier Coffee with the Miltons, Brad Fields, who are helping design and implement this. It's got great outdoor space, but the building right behind the field there, right on Roy Arnold, is now a beautiful locker room facility. It's got plenty of cool space for the student athletes, but it's also got a really great multi-purpose room down there and a place to gather inside when it snows before opening day.
Milton, and we've got a whole lot to cover this morning. Oh, look, that's neat. And I think the first important item is something about strategic planning. Now, in military terms, as you know, the strategy is you're going to take a hill, but the tactics are how you do it, how many men and, you know, which side of the hill you approach and so forth. But strategic planning often is, you know, you're talking long-term, you're talking 10, 20 years. What's the purview of this strategic plan?
One of the great things about Center is the agility, the opportunity to make moves that matter for the long run, but that we don't have to sit around and talk about for 10 years. So we think of ourselves as being pretty nimble here, especially for a college or university, which that sector is not always thought of as the most nimble. But we planned out for a 3 to 5 year strategic plan, thinking about what moves the needle right now in areas of student success, student wellness, and recruiting a 21st century student. So how do we appeal to 16 and 17-year-olds who are looking at college? And how do we put in front of them a really interesting opportunity to come to Center, to live here for 4 years in our residential program and be a part of the best academic program in this region?
I bet that
by far.
Vice President and Dean of the faculty, Ellen Goldie, if we could track her down, I bet she could put some flesh on these bones. Hello, Ellen. What's this strategic plan about? What are you most excited about?
I am extremely excited about these more immediate initiatives that we have been putting into place, some of which we were sort of we had some inspiration before we even hired a bunch of consultants to help us along. And some of the work that was done in advance of these last 20 months of in-depth strategic planning included the faculty rethinking our general education program. We can talk about that a little bit later if you want. We also put into place CenterWorks, which is having a remarkable impact. And I could spend the entire time talking about CenterWorks. We have about 150 of our top admitted students on campus right now. And I'm hearing that some of them had a really great experience up at CenterWorks yesterday. Thinking about what it means to actually enact their need. Our 21st century students want to make the world a better place with their lives. And I think that that's pretty exciting that we are offering some significant ways to put that passion they have into action. So
Now, I know that the curriculum must change to keep up with the times, and it has. There are a bunch of acronyms that I don't understand. Acronyms are a shorthand for like FDR and JFK and CBS and so forth. When I was teaching a London course this winter, I would look, and the guy in the front row, whatever I would make what I thought was a wonderful point, he'd scroll on paper, WTF. Can you confirm that that stands for wow, that's fantastic?
absolutely.
Oh,
Whatever
good.
you
Okay,
want
I
to
feel
believe in
better.
them.
Well, what about the DLM and the freshman thing? Can you talk about that?
Well, I'll just add real quickly. I spent 4 years working for the US EPA, and I tell you, the government is the one place that has more acronyms than higher ed. So DLM, those of us on the screen here that know that Doctrina Lux Mentis is the motto of Center College, and that guided a lot of thinking in terms of learning light of the mind, guided the thinking of the faculty as they were imagining a new general education program. And the thing that I'm most excited about, and I don't know if this is the tactic that they took because it happened right before I got here, but what I see now in our general education curriculum matches what research says is most important for student success. And that is, it is based in what we now know based on research are high impact practices. High impact practices include writing intensive courses. Students don't want to take writing intensive courses sometimes, but that is what leads to career success, is to be able to communicate effectively both in writing and in public speaking. Oral presentations are key. Video presentations now are key. Social media. How can we actually prepare students to do that well so that when they leave us, they're more effective in their communication? And that's just one piece. We have FYC now, which is our Finding Your Center course that all incoming students take. We were planning on implementing it the year after we actually implemented because we saw the nightmare of COVID coming. When we had to shut down because of COVID, we knew that incoming students that following year were going to be less prepared because they weren't going to have that high school experience. And so we scrambled and we put together what has become a very effective course on helping students build their growth mindset, helping them understand what it is to be thoughtful about how they learn, what's an effective way to learn, building their study skills, building, quite frankly, a social network so they feel belonging when they get here. And so that FYC course, as we call it around here, which includes an instructor that's either a faculty member or, what's kind of exciting for a lot of our professional staff members, our librarians, folks in student life, even folks in athletics, can help teach that FYC course and build some rapport with students that they don't normally get to do. And then we also have now FYMs that work in FYC, and our FYMs are peer mentors. These are students, upper class students that are trained very intently on how to be an effective peer mentor and support the learning in that program. And that learning trickles out across everything that we do. And faculty members now can know that students understand the word metacognition, to think about their own learning. They can use the language of growth mindset. They can draw on those study skills classes that the students have taken. So we're filled with acronyms, but they're very effective. I'll just say too, some of the other high impact practices that are now embedded in our general education curriculum, some of them were already there. Global studies, one of the most important high impact practices that we know from personal experience, if you've had an opportunity to travel and really embed into a different culture, maybe actually testing yourself to learn a new language, that is a transformative experience. We have mentored research, undergraduate research now counts towards gen ed, internships now count towards gen ed. All of those high impact practices are now part of our general education curriculum. That is something to celebrate. It's unheard of. It doesn't happen that way around the country. I was at a conference recently with a very high-powered presenter who heard about some of what we were doing and came over and said, you know, Ellen, we need to go on the road together with this general education.
You've been on the road. I heard that you were recently, you had a unplanned extended trip to our very popular Merida program.
Yeah.
How was that?
One of the promises that John Roush made to me when I was hired is that I was going to go get to visit our study abroad programs. And I was so excited. And then COVID hit. So Lori Hartman and I finally got a chance to visit Merida, our program in the Yucatan. And she came down with it about 2 days before I did, but we both got COVID and we couldn't come back. And we decided that this was our empathy lesson so that we would understand what it felt like for our students to go through that, especially our study abroad students who get trapped and can't come home. I spent an extra 10 days
well,
because they wouldn't let me on the plane.
I hope that both you and Milton can get to our first two and our largest programs, which I think are the most life-changing thing at Center, which is to spend a semester in Strasbourg or in London. But look, okay, they come and they take these courses, but then how do we get them ready for careers? Because parents are interested in their sons and daughters making a good living. Do you have an acronym for that, Helen?
We do. We now have the CECs, the career exploration communities, which are being implemented. But I thought I'd just mention too that yesterday we had our Parents Advisory Council meeting on campus, and I got to hear what Barbara Lamonaco, our Vice President for Student Life, is doing in terms of building residence life programming around building career competencies. I got to hear from Allie Lilly, our Deputy Athletic Director, talk about what athletics is doing to build career competencies in our scholar athletes. So what we are doing now is campus-wide, and what we need help from folks like are on the call right now is as we build these career exploration communities, and they may be, we don't know what the actual topics are going to be, but I can give you a couple of examples. Something like public health and medicine might be one of the career exploration communities. Another one might be law and government. Another one might be arts and entertainment. We don't know what they're going to be called yet because we want the students and the faculty and the staff and our alumni and trustees and anybody else who's willing to help participate to actually imagine these together. And we're planning on hiring some folks in the Career and Professional Development Office to help us do this. We are a lean and mean staff here at Center College, and that is starting to become a problem. And we know that we need to actually put some folks in place that can help us do this work and coordinate this work. But it is going to be a cross-cutting initiative, and we want these CECs to be vibrant, to be exciting. Students are busy, and we need to create something that is going to be value added for them and that actually draws them in to explore what careers they don't even know of, that don't even know they exist, that not every anybody that goes to law school becomes a practicing attorney, for example? What are all the ways that they can actually contribute and make the world a better place? Because that's what they want to do.
What about, we're instituting now, I think it's already started, a new business major. Now, do you have to hire a whole slew of new faculty to do that, or how's that working?
That might have been what we thought when we were envisioning the idea of a business major. I tell you that faculty members at any institution around the country don't appreciate when the administration suggests that maybe they implement a new major of any type. Business was not something that a lot of faculty members thought was such a great idea here initially. But we talked about the need to recruit students, students of the future, current students and parents that sort of grab onto business as something that this is how you can actually be successful in the world. And so we knew that business was something that we needed to put on the list. But the faculty took a hold of that and made it their own. And our econ and finance faculty did, quite frankly, what I think is the unthinkable. I never would have expected this, but they cherish the culture of Center College, and they didn't want to be hiring a bunch of business types that didn't understand the culture of Center College. They believe in the liberal arts deeply. And so what they agreed to do, with some support from the administration and the budget, was to go back to school. So these colleagues, who are some of the best faculty members that we have, and I know some of you know them, are going back for their MBAs. They are going back and doing training. And we are going to have, I think, probably the best business program because it was done by those who cherish this institution. So a couple folks have already finished their degrees. John Perry is finishing his. Patton Mahler is working on hers right now. David Anderson has gone back and gotten certification in an entrepreneurship training course that he's enjoyed. So I think that we're going to have some really remarkable opportunities for students.
Well, that's great. Anything else in your very large swath of duties, Ellen?
Oh, I could go on for a while, but I'm not sure that you necessarily want to hear all the things. But I will just say I'm very proud of this senior leadership team, this remarkable faculty that we have, this staff that is so dedicated, and of course, what great students we have, and this group that would come on a call on a Saturday morning to hear some updates. We need you. We need your enthusiasm, your input, your time, your expertise, if you're willing to give it to us as we put some of these initiatives into place. So thank you for the opportunity to chat with everybody this morning.
Well, Milton, President,
Yes, sir.
President Moreland, I was once reading about an unnamed college that decided to really strengthen, and they started an office called Office of Unity, Exclusion, and Inequity. Okay, Unity. Now, have we moved in that direction under your leadership, Milton?
I think the acronym's slightly different. We go with ODI, Office of Diversity and Inclusion. We also use some terms around DEI, diversity and equity and inclusion, but we are actually really interested in how we can best serve our students, right? And this setting here at Center needs to be the type of setting that is broad-based in terms of demographics, is a place where students from all over the world come, geographic diversity with different ideas from different racial and ethnic backgrounds. If we are successful at that, then we are actually preparing the students of the future. And that's our goal. So we are thrilled to have our DEI work front and center, if you will, and our Office for Diversity and Inclusion leading the way in a lot of aspects, although it is part of every office on campus and the work we do with students, and the student leadership has diversity, equity, and inclusion as part of just how we think about ourselves and what our goals are and how we're trying to prepare people for lives of meaning and purpose. So excited to have Dr.
Let me tell you something first before we get
Okay.
into the excitement that I think I know what it is. But in the fall, I was driving down Walnut Street with a couple of older alums, or middle-aged alums, young middle-aged. And, we got to the crossing there, and, there's a stream of students coming out of class or something long back. And one of them said, "This doesn't look like the student body that I was here with." And we've done a wonderful job of diversifying, internationalizing first, and diversifying the student body. Wouldn't you agree with that, Milton? And then we'll ask the Vice President, Andrea Abrams.
Indeed. The opportunity here, I think, to represent Kentucky well in terms of the demographic of the Commonwealth, but also represent the demographic of the world. That needs to be part of our mission. So with our faculty and staff hiring, that's a big part of how we think about the future of the college and our success. So excited that Dr. Abrams, Andrea Abrams, now at the college for 15 years, anthropology professor, but also as of 4 years ago, a chief diversity officer here. And as of last year, the vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so Andrea has played a big role for many years here, but so happy that now she is working closely with Ellen and me and many others around campus to design the opportunity for diversity and inclusion into the next 50 years. How are we going to continue to move the college forward? I am happy to bring Andrea on. I know that one of the things that you might see if you were stopped along that Main Street, Milton, with right about that crossing where students cross Main, we've actually got some new evidence, if you will, in a building format of the emphasis that we're putting on.
Some of the alums will remember that building, Milton. I'm a little sad to say, as a funeral home. But Center College brought it back to life, man, and it was a bookstore, our bookstore, and a cafe, a wonderful little cafe upstairs. And then it became Stuart Hall, Residence Hall, named for John Todd Stuart, without whom Abraham Lincoln would have been the best horseshoer in Springfield, Illinois. It was John Todd Stuart who brought him along and gave him his law books, as you know. So now it is transmogrified again into this wonderful spot for Dr. Abrams.
Indeed.
What do you do? What do you do over there, Andrea?
Oh, good morning. Well, we have in that building, we have our offices. We have training spaces over there. Student organizations meet there. We have study space. We even have a class that meets there. And in our offices, in addition to the ghosts from the funeral home, we have 5 staff people. Melinda Weathers, who's on the call as the Director of Diversity and Inclusion Programming. Jessica Chisley is the Assistant Director. Joanna Marcelon is the Coordinator, and Rachel Goss is the Executive Administrative Assistant. And we actually had an open house that some of you might have been able to come to during homecoming, where you could see how beautifully decorated it is. We tried to make it a really warm and homey place that students, faculty, and staff feel happy to just stop by. In addition to that, we've tried to entice people with food. So we've done a lot of cultural events around food. For instance, we had a Thanksgiving dinner in that space, as well as the intercultural suite, which is in the campus center. We have Hispanic Heritage Sweets Night. We've had desserts of the African diaspora, Louisiana style gumbo night to celebrate Mardi Gras. And coming up, we have Arab Heritage Month Feast. So we encourage people to always stop by and say hello, because everyone is welcome.
You have brought in some pretty high-powered, big-name folks as well, maybe as part of the press lecture and other things. Who's been here to help us understand this?
So we have had for our Building Bridges and Community Day, and I'll take a minute to talk about what that is. Building Bridges and Community Day is a day we've done 4 times this so far in November, where on that day at noon, the entire campus stops and faculty, staff, and students come together for a community lunch. And then we spend the rest of the day interacting with each other around events centered on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you can go to a workshop on community building and theater, or you can go to a panel on the experiences of international students, or you can go to a training on allyship, or you can have a working group on how do we talk across political differences. Or if you want something a little bit more light, you can take a Bollywood dancing class. So during this time, we have about 40 to 45 sessions that are running, and they are run by our faculty, staff, and students. And so far, we've had, over the past 4 years, 900 to about 1,200 members of the community participate in that. So this is something we're really proud of. During one of our events, we had Ibram Kendi, who writes about anti-racism. He was a press lecture guest speaker. We also had, for another time for our Black History Month celebration, Stacey Abrams, somebody I know vaguely. She came to do a talk. And then for our MLK event this year, we had Charles Booker.
How do you know Stacey Abrams? A distant relative?
She might be one of my sisters. Yeah.
I heard the 4 females of your family after Atlanta referred to as the four horsewomen of the new apocalypse.
Oh my goodness. I hadn't heard that one.
I hope.
I will say, Milton, that should be little sister. Andrea is clearly
matriarch.
Yeah, thank you.
I have seen that in action, where they look up to Andrea. Let me tell you, there's a lot of respect there for the big sister.
Thank you, Milton. I appreciate that.
Can alums who are listening or others be involved in any of this, or what's for them on campus that your office coordinates, sponsors, initiates?
So recently we've done in partnership with other offices on campus, we've done things where alumni have been featured. So for instance, we partnered with the Center for Career and Professional Development to recently do a Women's History Month panel that included Center alumni Angie Evans from the class of 91, who's also on the board, and Kalinda Allen James from who is an alumni from 01. Then we also partnered recently with the alumni office to do a KMAC gallery event in Louisville, which featured glass artist and alumnus Jay Rhodes from 95. Another project that's coming up that we're working on that I'd really like to invite different alumni to think about participating in and supporting is what we're calling the Emerging Leaders Summit. So this is focusing on students from underrepresented backgrounds, such as first-generation students, students of color, LGBTQ+, neurodiverse, and differently abled students. And we want to connect them with alumni and others who share not only their background, but their professional dreams. So this will be a place where we have mentoring and networking on things like how you get into a graduate program, how do you succeed in that field, but more importantly, how do you thrive and make a difference in spaces when there aren't a lot of other people who look like you and who have your background? So this is a project that we are hoping to get off the ground next year, and there'll be more information coming forth soon. But in the meantime, if anyone has any questions or thoughts or suggestions, please reach out to me.
Okay. Milton Moreland.
Yes, sir.
Ellen has been traveling a bit to learn about our incredible study abroad program under Laurie Hartman, but you've been on the road as well. What have you been doing?
Well, thanks for asking. I haven't been to Merida or Strasbourg or London or any of these beautiful study abroad or our study away program in Tahoe or DC, but I did get to visit our study away location and talk with a bunch of alums in New York last week, and Megan was there as well, and we had a great time thinking with a group of about 30 folks who have contributed to our study away program, a fall semester program for our students in New York. So that was fun. But the big news is we're hitting some regional cities this year. This spring, we're having 6 or 7 big alumni and parent events. So we were in Lexington, we've been in Louisville. We're going to be here in Danville, Kentucky in a few weeks. For any alumni in this region, we'll be opening up the Craig House for a nice little party, but also Cincinnati, Nashville, Atlanta coming up. So we're looking forward to seeing people out on the road a little bit more. And if you're in any of those areas within driving distance, hope that you'll register for those programs and come out and see a lot of great friends, family, and alumni of Center College in those locations. And as you know, time goes on, next fall and spring, we'll be planning visits back to some of those locations, of course, but also expanding the net and getting out into a wide variety of places from DC and Chicago and LA and so forth to keep meeting the amazing alumni base at Center.
That's great, because people are tired of meeting people two-dimensionally on a little screen. They want to see 3 dimensions and they want to feel their breath, and so that's great.
Yeah, I love it. I would like to think that, Milton, you yourself would get out occasionally. I don't know. You just live here in Danville. You ever travel yourself?
Don't ask me. It was different teaching students in London in January when all the COVID stuff was in effect. And then there was a community arts center trip. The John Kincaid, our colleague, his wife runs the center, and they're in London. So we did an arts trip to London and Paris.
Love it.
And all of the expected snafus, stolen passport, cell phone, the Artful Dodger of Dickens is still operating in London, but it was a resilient group. But the exciting thing is why I wore a tie this morning. I knew you would be tieless, but I wore this tie. Can you see it?
I can.
Can you guess what all those things are that kind of run down to the belly button?
I would
They
guess
are pubs in Ireland. And I think Megan Milby is going to talk about what's going to happen in 10 days or something, Megan.
Yes, thank you for that introduction. We are thrilled to be taking, Milton and I are thrilled to be taking a group of about 27 people to both alumni and some community friends that Milton has made over the years who care quite a bit about our sister city in Carrickfergus, Northern Ireland, which we'll be stopping by. I will be also trying to pack this friend with me on our trip. So not only will we have the 3-dimensional version, but we will also have the 2-dimensional version with us as we go. I am so excited. I'm partnering with the communications office to do some posting and I guess video vlogging, I guess, while we're there about our travels. So I would encourage you and share with your friends to follow our hashtag Center Abroad. That not only tells you about our trip with alumni, but also shares about our student experiences abroad as well. And we are so looking forward to it. This has been, I don't know, Milton, if you mentioned it, but we have been trying to do this for 3 years. And so I've been jokingly telling everyone that the third time's a charm because we are finally getting to go over to the Emerald Isle. And I'm delighted that for the first time in my 15 years, we're going to be hosting an alumni dinner at Belfast Titanic. 4 of our center alumni who were part of our Northern Ireland exchange program are going to be joining us for dinner. And certainly the first event for them, but also the first for me in hosting an alumni event in Ireland. So again,
feelings about having dinner on the Titanic, but the last time I did that, it was just after a couple got married on the Titanic. I thought, what kind of, how successful is this marriage going to be? The dinner is the same dinner that they prepared on the Titanic the night that it went down. It's a Michelin, it's a 7-course meal, it's fabulous. But the exciting thing about this trip is we still haven't heard whether or not the Baron and Baroness of Carrickfergus, our sister city, therefore the Baron and Baroness of Danville, that is Will and Kate, Prince William and Kate Middleton, are going to join us for dinner. We keep inviting them, and I have it in writing from the secretary that on their first extended trip to America, they will come to Danville and look over their domain. And we've invited them to meet us, but they haven't yet responded. So, you know, maybe.
unbelievable. Well, we'll look out for them, but they
Practice
will.
your bowing.
Remember,
My curtsy.
remember,
I will practice my curtsy.
Curtsy, yeah, that's true.
center is the place where the unbelievable goes to become the believable.
That's right.
Okay, so never, never, never say no.
That's right.
And I really do assume they will drop by if they're in the neighborhood, Milton. So I look forward to the pictures. Thank you so much to Ellen and Andrea for joining. It's been a real pleasure this morning to hear about Center College, the gem of Kentucky, but really premier school in the nation, and looking forward to all of these opportunities to see it continue to grow and just become world renowned for student success, for helping our students become great human beings, thoughtful human beings, purposeful in their lives and in their careers. So a lot of good stuff happening. Clearly some great leadership here with Andrea and Ellen, and excited to see today 150 prospective students and their families here. So several of us are going to make our way over to talk to them. It's exciting as well because it's snowing, and again, what better way to see Center College as a prospective family than with a 35-degree snowy Saturday morning. But they're not here.
Really
for the
snowing
weather.
right now. Yeah.
But it's an exciting day at Center as we're a couple weeks away from finalizing next year's class coming in. So even as we're celebrating the spring semester, finals just a few weeks away, lots of people getting excited about what's going on this summer, and also bringing in a whole bunch of high school seniors who are thinking about where they want to spend the next 4 years. If you know any of those people, remind them Center is their best option. This is an incredible place to spend your college, as I think everyone on the spend your college years, as everyone on the call would agree. So good seeing everybody. Milton Riegelman, yes, take it away. You get the final word.
Well, you know, Downton Abbey went 8 seasons, okay? And there's a second movie coming out in next month. This ends our first season, Milton. And I don't know if we'll be re-upped or not, but this has been a real pleasure to get to know you better and to hear more about the wonderful things that are happening under your leadership. The Good Ship Center has not sunk. It has avoided all kinds of shoals and whirlpools, the Scylla and Charybdis of our time. You've avoided them. And so Godspeed, continue the march, to mix metaphors. And it's been a real pleasure having these alums join us and being with you.
Well, thank you, sir, for being the opportunity to have the two Miltons on a screen, still probably unprecedented in the world of broadcasting. And we will hope that the broadcasting gods bring us back for a second season. We'll just hold out hope that we can see each other again on a Zoom screen soon with coffee in hand. Thanks everybody for joining this morning. Great to see you all.